Hello. Write your own memoir. Even if you don't know what you're doing, you can do it too. I wrote this book and I didn't know what I was doing when I started. But yeah, I don't know what I'm doing right now. But I want you to pick up this book and read it. Some of it's pretty good. Considering I didn't know what I was doing when I started, I put, oh well. Let me see. I'm going to read a few paragraphs from it. With this closeness of friends, I felt very relaxed at home, sharing a lot of laughter and good times. We all enjoyed pigging out while watching Gilligan's Island on TV, then cranking up the music and drinking beer. It was a place to feel free and at home for anyone who needed a place to sleep. Anne sat across the room, sipping her wine cooler, while I sat by myself, looking out the window, trying not to be seen noticing if Anne showed the slightest bit of interest in me. I didn't want her to think I did. Anne was very pretty, with beautiful brown eyes and dark hair, but for some reason I tried to keep my distance from her. I never understood why she even hung out with us. She was totally different from the rest of us. She always wore short skirts, high-heel shoes, and way too much makeup. Instead of drinking beer like the rest of us, she drank wine. If I said anything to her at all, she just rolled her eyes back like she just heard something stupid. She constantly complained every time a guy looked at her. But she complained even more when she got no looks at all. The only guy Anne ever took seriously was our married man, who took her to his hotel room every time he was in town for business. The guy promised to leave his wife and kids to marry her one day, filling her head with a lot of false hope. Anyway, the circumstances were she was at my house every night with no place else to go. Lynn and Dave had pretty much taken over my living room. So the few nights Anne slept in my living room floor until she just couldn't take it anymore. And she made a demand of me. "Come on, Smitty," she said. "Let's get out. Let's go for a ride somewhere, anywhere. We got to get out for a while." Well, that's just a small portion of my book. How I ended up living with this girl I didn't even like. She didn't like me and I didn't like her. But I wrote about it. I wrote about it in this memoir. The book. Yeah. Starts out, looks like a first grader wrote it, and then it gets on. You know, there's a lot of, some parts of it I think came out pretty good, you know. A lot of it takes place in Hollywood. Some of it goes to Texas. But it starts out in Portland, Maine. Well, believe me, if I can write a book, you can too. And, well, let's find some more areas to read here. Moving out. Oh, my first apartment. Moving out. Yeah, I lived with a couple of roommates who were cheap. Yeah. Wheelies and weddings. Let me see if I can find some more. Oh, dear. Yeah, there's some really horror stories in here. But some of it I think I wrote pretty good, you know. There's coming back from Hollywood. I arrived at the Portland, Maine Greyhound station on the morning of March 24th, 1987, 2 days after my 22nd birthday. It had just been 8 weeks since I'd left Portland to go to California, but for some strange reason, I felt like I had been away for years. The weather was warming up, and the streets were wet from the melting snow. Whenever spring arrives in Maine, it comes with a burst of energy, and it's a new beginning, a time to set new goals. I called my mother from a phone booth as soon as I got off the bus. When she arrived to pick me up, the sun's glare was so bright, reflecting off the wet pavement, that I barely recognized her car as she turned into the parking lot, splashing through the puddles. But the moment I saw and recognized her, I realized that I scarcely recognized myself. I felt ashamed returning home, like a failure holding just a blanket and a toothbrush. I left with no intentions to call again. I sat in the front seat and asked my mother if she could buy me a new set of clothes for my birthday. The clothes I had on, which I'd been wearing for almost a week, were all I possessed, and they were beginning to smell. Ugh. Yeah, there's some horror stories in this book. You know, I wasn't a great writer in school. I was the biggest goof-off you ever met. I was a big goof-off. Let me see. Willard Beach. I could start here in the first grade. I felt like a first grader when I wrote this. Willard Beach, Chapter 1. The water was calm. The fog and light rain settling the mood on that very quiet Sunday afternoon in Maine. I was alone, the only soul searching along the shores of Willard Beach. My parents had warned me not to go near the water during the red tide, but I had never been one to take their warnings or take seriously anything anyone else said, for that matter. At only the age of 6, I'd already climbed the perilous rocks along Dana Cove by myself, oblivious to my own safety. I prevailed coming home with my sneakers and pant legs soaking wet after searching between rocks for sea glass and seashells and a sand dollar. Yeah, that's it. Those are little parts of my book. You don't have to be a great writer to tell your story. You can write straight from memory. Straight from memory. This is, yeah. Get out and write your memoir. Make it a raw story memoir. And get published. If I can do it, you can too. I was the biggest goof-off you ever met. Third grade, I'll show you a story about third grade. Willard School, 1973. Willard School. Oh yeah. Let me see. Here's a little story. Oh no, I hate it. Oh boy. Bracken Street. Oh boy, my friend Roland. The first time Roland and I stayed after school together, Sleestack left us alone in the classroom with her purse sitting in the corner behind her desk. As soon as she left the room, Roland dashed across the floor, sliding on his knees straight for her purse. I saw what he was doing and I ran up there behind him. This happened more than once. We only took about $2 or $3 each time, so she never noticed the money was missing. We had a pretty good business going for a while, since we had to stay after school almost every day. Oh yes. Yeah, I was a big goof-off in school. Took money from the third grade teacher. I have a lot of faults. But I don't want people judging me for what they think I am or what people say about me. I spilled it all out in this book so people will know what I was really about. I did not have an easy life. I got down on my knees and repented my sins many times in this book. Many times. And God helped me through. I've had my faults. I've had my faults. But when people judge me, I want them to read my book first. I encourage everybody to get out there and write your memoir. Write the raw truth about yourself. Make it a raw truth. Now, that book is called Somehow I Survived, a memoir of a lost soul. Write it from the heart. Let me see. Oh, there's so many stories in here. I want you all to go out and write your own memoir. If I can do it, you can too. Thank you for checking it out. Go on Amazon.com or Barnes & Noble, wherever you are. It's a much better book than this video is, believe me. I want my story told. That's why I wrote it. I want my book to express who I am and not what they say about me. Both good and bad. I don't care if they say bad things about me, as long as it's the truth. But there's a lot of good about me. And I want my book to exploit who I truly am. This is just my first book. I'm working on my second book, and it will be much better written than this book. But if I can write this book, so can you. A raw story memoir that anybody, I want to see everyone out there start writing books. Write books so the world will know who you are. And I don't like famous people memoirs. I want raw story, the ordinary people. Let the world know who you are. Thank you. Thank you for looking at my book. Go out and buy it. Thank you very much.